Welcome to the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together. Baseball family, welcome to this Friday episode of the Baseball Together podcast. We're really excited to be here. We've got another little episode of ball talk that we're going to get into. Our guest, Gary Kemp, is here all the way from the UK, from Great Britain. How are you, Gary?
I'm very well, thank you, Brig. How are you?
I'm fine. This is a good day. 60 degrees outside. Spring training games are on. Brad's here. You're here. Like, things are really good for me right now. How are you, Brad?
I'm good. It's a little chilly today. That's why I have the sweatshirt on. It's like 70 degrees. So
70's chilly, and me, I'm on the front porch.
It was 90 yesterday.
Tank top.
It was 90 yesterday. So
see, for me, that's boiling hot because obviously I'm working on Celsius, not Fahrenheit. So
yeah,
right.
But for me, 90 is just unlivable. So
I know, and it's gonna be unlivable here in a couple months. We're gonna be up to 120 in like June, July. So yeah,
what is that in Celsius? Like plus 15 or something like that.
Oh, God.
Plus
Whereabouts
12.
are you based? Whereabouts are you, Brad?
I'm in Arizona.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's probably about 30, 35 maybe. It's probably even a little bit more than that.
That's going to be my approach this summer. I'm going to try to keep things positive. It's only 35 out here. We're fine. We're good. No wonder people walk around in sweatshirts still.
All right, that's awesome. Well, before we move on and get to know Gary even better, and the reason he's here is very exciting, we got to get him caught in a rundown. Happens every time. Gary, are you ready for the rundown questions?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Step one, what is your quest?
My quest? To improve the knowledge of baseball over in Britain, to try and build the awareness of it, and also vice versa, to give an American audience, the idea that British people can enjoy baseball and kind of showcasing that as well.
That's awesome. I love
Fantastic. Hardest question you're going to have the entire time. What is your favorite color?
Pink. Hot pink.
Oh.
That was one of our wedding colors, and I've gained such a great appreciation for it since then, and that's fantastic. I love it. Every bit of it.
It's so bright and vibrant. Anyone wearing hot pink, you're like, yeah, damn, he's rocking that. They're rocking that outfit.
Happy.
I love it. I've got two girls, and I've started wearing all kinds of colors, and pink is definitely on that list. I wear pink regularly now, and it's cool or hot if it's the right color pink, right? That was a bad joke. You can tell I'm a dad. Okay.
Depends how bright it is.
If the Chicago Cubs, which you've decided is your favorite team, the Chicago Cubs were a beverage, what would they be?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, I didn't see this one coming. The first two I'm mentally prepared for, even though I didn't know the questions. They're a beverage. What would they be? I'm gonna say lemon. I'm gonna say Sprite, lemonade, Sprite. Yeah, Sprite.
Okay.
You want to qualify that for us? Get deeper.
Yeah, and you're gonna say why is the next question. I think Sprite is solid, if not unspectacular. Has the potential on the right conditions to be the best in the world. But at the very least will give you a nice sort of just over 500 ball equivalent of how you feel when you taste Sprite. On a nice summer day when it's 120 out in Arizona, you can have a nice Sprite to cool you down, and I'll say that's the Cubs. Slightly above average could be brilliant.
That's an incredible justification.
They certainly have the potential this year too, man. Kyle Tucker. I am like the biggest Kyle Tucker fan. I was a little upset when he went to the Cubs, but I was happy he was out of the AL West. So you're gonna love that guy. You're really gonna love that guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Okay. Brig, I'm gonna deviate from our typical question here. If baseball was a traditional British dish, what would it be?
Ooh, good one.
Again, that's a great question. I didn't see this one coming either. I'm going to say, just because it's the first one that's come to my mind, fish and chips, and I'm going to try and justify it in the next sort of 10 seconds whilst I'm stalling with this sentence.
I love fish and chips, so ready to
go. Fish and chips for me, great in the summer. You can enjoy it all. You sort of miss it in the winter. You go to like the roast dinners. The Sunday roast is a typical, British delicacy. As I'm sure, I think it's made its way over to America. But I'll say fish and chips because it's very enjoyable in the summer. Nice, refreshing if you put some tartar sauce on there. Never going to let you down, and you always look forward to having more.
That's exactly right.
100%.
And with some malt vinegar, right? A little malt vinegar on the chips, like, oh.
No, I'm just a salt man. Salt and vinegar. I know it's classic. I'm not a vinegar guy.
No, just straight salt.
Straight salt, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't see that coming. Malt vinegar. I learned about it from Brits, and I thought, oh, this is the greatest thing ever.
I'm sure I'll get crucified by the Brits for this because, salt and vinegar such a staple.
Gotta get deported.
Vinegar and mushy peas are not for me. I'm tartar sauce on the chips. Fish nice and list on the top. Salt everywhere.
You're not alone with mushy peas. I can't do that. I can't do it. All right, the last question. What is one unpopular baseball opinion that you have?
As in, many people wouldn't agree with me?
Yes.
Right.
The designated hitter rule shouldn't be a thing.
Okay. I love it.
I like to see... My whole thing is I got into baseball the season that the universal DH rule became a thing. So I've never known baseball without it. My girlfriend, who has been a Cubs fan all of her life, grew up in suburbs of Chicago. Obviously, being National League as a Cubs fan, she hated the universal DH rule because she really likes to see pitchers try and do their swing. I mean, for me, it's a pitcher can get a little bit annoyed sometimes and start throwing at the opposing team if he chooses to, as that is frowned upon. And for me, now that they're not having to face the pitchers themselves, they've got a lot more security because they know, I'm not going to be thrown at. I can just do this and hide behind my catcher or hide behind the umpire. He'll eject me for 5 games. What a problem. What an issue. That's my main reason. It's, pitchers can be a bit more sneaky and devious and they can't really get the payback in line with what they're doing. If they're throwing at the guy on purpose, I will caveat that. Obviously, if a slip out the hand is one thing, but trying to beam a guy, which I think we all know we can tell the differences, even if the commentators try and play dumb.
Yeah, they do play dumb. And it is pretty clear most of the time.
Yeah.
In defense of the universal DH, I say go watch an at bat with Randy Johnson.
Here we go.
Not Randy Johnson pitching, but Randy Johnson hitting. That alone is defense for the universal DH right there. He doesn't look comfortable. Doesn't even look like an athlete holding that bat.
Yeah, but
Brig, and he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time.
Care. I'm with Gary. I'm not doing it.
All right.
I'll put up with it because I have to, because I'm not the commissioner. But just, if I were, Gary and I, we'd be on that's the boat we would.
I know it's a thing. Everybody loves, they want the pitchers to hit and be athletes and stuff, but just so many of them, unfortunately, aren't. And it takes, I'm not going to get up on my soapbox, but I'm sorry. It's
Brad's soapbox on this one topic is gilded. It is there are the jewels in it and everything. He feels very strongly.
Yeah, I do.
All right, anyway. Gary. So your girlfriend is a Cubs fan. Grew up in Chicago.
Yes.
Okay, so is that the origin source of your baseball?
Yeah, pretty much. Nothing more. Basically, just got into baseball to try and impress her. Is the starting point. And it worked. We were all together at that point. But it was also, I've always wanted a sport to sort of carry me through the summer. So I'm a rugby player, I'm a soccer fan or football fan. We'll call it soccer because I'll mention football in a second. They're both winter sports over in the UK. I'm a big football fan as well, and that runs from September through to February. So there's always a period from around mid-May to September where I go out to the pub and I'm just drinking because I like beer. Whereas if the baseball's on, or I can watch the baseball at home, I have a reason to be drinking in the summer. It's just a nice chilled out sport, and I've always wanted what I call a summer sport. And that's how I justify the beer I have in the summer is, I'm enjoying the baseball.
You're going to catch a game at the pub. That's how you justify it.
Yeah. Even though it's not on, I just enjoy the pub.
Right. That's the best reason I've ever heard somebody became a fan, ever. I want to impress my girlfriend, and I needed to justify having a drink at the pub, and it's the summertime, so it's perfect.
So what time do you watch games during the summer then? That's what I'm curious about, because I know that like we like to watch some soccer or football here on Sunday mornings, but I got to get a little bit earlier than I'm interested in most Saturday, Sunday mornings. But like, what time are you watching games? You watch replays?
Yeah, but I mean replays so I only really watch the Cubs because there's not enough hours in the day for 15 games. The Cubs with obviously their historic 1:20 sort of first pitch, so that's on at 7:20 in the evenings most of the time. So it's a nice manageable time. If they're ever on the West Coast and they're starting at 2:38 in the morning UK time, I don't know why it's not 40 or at 1:30. I don't know why it's 2:38. I'll catch the full game replay
Pre-game
morning after.
Yeah. Brad thinks he has the answer to that 2:35, 2:38 thing.
No, I looked it up, Brig. I do have the answer. It's
Uh-huh.
that the coverage of the game starts on the half hour, so they take 5 minutes to do the TV stuff, and then they get into the game. It's a weird thing because since you play every day, you don't need to do the big build up, the hour and a half long pregame stuff, right? And so they have programming go up to the half hour, the hour, whatever it is, and then after that they say, "Welcome to the game. These are the two teams that are playing. These are your two starting pitchers. This is what happened yesterday. This is what they're playing for, and here we go. Here's the first pitch." That's pregame right there for you.
Wow.
I did not know that at all. Thanks for that.
Brad.
Yeah,
you're swinging hard now.
Hey, swing over the fences, Brig. That's what we do around here.
Yeah, you're right. So, Gary, what in the amount of time you've spent learning the game, getting to know it, what is your favorite thing about it, and what do you think is just the dumbest thing ever that makes no sense?
I'll start with the dumbest thing because I think it's a bit more sort of in the news nowadays. Well, sorry, two dumbest things, one of which has now been rectified. One was the New York Yankees facial hair policy. We're all rocking nice beards on this podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple or however else, take my word for it. We've got some fabulous beards working here. I was on a podcast the other day with some guys from New York, and they were very much sort of, they were quite mixed up, but they were like, we're happy it's gone. It was probably a bit outdated, but it wasn't a big deal to them. Being a British fan, it just didn't make sense to me. So that's one of them. The bigger one is the salary. It's the lack of salary cap and sort of the deferrals that teams are able to do. I get it's within the rules. I'm not sitting here moaning at teams, such as, well, mainly the Dodgers, for taking advantage of the rules. But I think when the next CBA comes in action, 2026, I believe, I think that will be a big talking point. There's just no. Again, I had a conversation with a Dodgers fan about this the other day, and my whole argument was, yes, okay, the likes of the Yankees and the Cubs and the Mets can't really argue because they have that financial backing to be able to compete with the Dodgers. I'm on about the lower market teams, the Rockies, the Cincinnati Reds, to a lesser extent the Miami Marlins. They're all smaller market teams who do not physically have the revenue stream to be able to compete with someone like the Dodgers. And for me, it just completely imbalances the game of baseball. Outside of which team is the best, no, it's which team can defer the most money for 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a new thing.
It is, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I do know that the players are going to counter with, we haven't had a back-to-back champion since the Yankees in 98, 99, and 2000. Right, like that's a big thing because the NBA has a hard salary cap, and it's been like 5 teams basically that have won the title since 2000. The NFL has a hard cap, and it's basically been the Chiefs, Patriots, and like several other teams. Just like a handful of other teams. And so I know that's going to be the big argument with the players, and that's kind of actually, honestly, like I used to be all about the salary cap because it feels like competitive balance, right? Like,
yep.
The Dodgers can't go spend $1 billion in free agency and then defer it right? Whereas Seattle has spent like $30 million over the last 2 years in free agency. Like, it's absurd. And really what it is it's players don't want to play in Seattle for whatever reason, but they want to go play in LA because it's by the beach, it's sunny, and you're probably going to win.
Yeah, but
right?
that's a different argument to the. Yeah, okay, I'm a little bit hurt because the Cubs missed out on like everyone because of the Dodgers. Shohei last year, even though he's probably never going to come to the Cubs. Sasaki this year, Tanner Scott, where we put actually a comparable deal in, and he went, "No, I'm going to go join the evil empire on the West Coast." I know it used to be the Yankees.
It is now.
Unfortunately, it's now the Dodgers, and so I'm a little bit hurt by that. But if the reason is I want to go and win a World Series ring, I can get behind that. But anyone, you take the two relievers that went over there. Kirby Yates, again, I saw this discussion earlier. Kirby Yates, you're approaching the end of your career, probably got 1 or 2 years left in as a reliever. You haven't won a World Series ring. You want to go join the Dodgers? I get that. The money wasn't absurd. Someone like Tanner Scott, he could have gone to any other team and made that team better. He could have stayed with the Padres if he cared about. He's gone there for the money.
Yeah.
Ultimately, yes, he's gone there to win a ring, but he could have. I would get a greater sense of accomplishment winning that with a team that weren't favourites. Saying that, I'm not in that position, so my situation could completely be different. But that's from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah, we feel very similarly.
And the thing too that I would like about a salary cap is that with that you have to have a salary floor, and that's a big deal. I feel like in baseball because there are too many teams that just do not spend enough, and that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day that we can get into. But I think that's the more important aspect of it than the cap because that makes teams more competitive. Yeah. But so what's one thing? The other part of that question: what's one thing that you absolutely love about baseball?
Just how chilled out the game is. You've got 9 innings. Most teams you're sitting there for let's say 2.5, 3 hours. If you're at the ballpark, I've had the pleasures of going to both the London games, Fenway and Wrigley Field. When you're at the games,
nice.
Yeah, everyone's chilled out. There's no fighting unless you're in the Crosstown Derby and it's the Crosstown Series and someone shoots a gun in the White Sox Stadium, which happens.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Or Oakland.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore.
That's why they get. Imagine that being the sole reasoning. Yeah, we've moved the bases to stop on the shootings that were happening every week in Oakland, especially at the Coliseum. It's just how chilled out the atmosphere is. I mean, there aren't many games where, it sounds bad, you can lose focus for sort of 10, 15 minutes at a time and nothing really happens. Like, you can go get a beer, go get a hot dog. It's not going to change the game too much. And then whenever there's a home run, everyone's, on their feet cheering. Even some of the opposing fans are probably clapping it because if it's a monster hit. Just how chilled out the atmosphere is. And, you don't have to stay focused on the game for 3 hours straight. It's practically about an hour spread across the 3.5 hour time frame.
Yep. Yeah, of actual gameplay. I agree. Brad and I love to chat with people randomly at ball games. Brad wants to watch the game. He's got his scorecard out. He doesn't want to miss a millisecond. If a piece of the infield gravel or dirt or whatever is out of the wrong spot, he's going to notice. I'm like, what brought you here? Like, where are you from? What's going on? And I'm with you. I miss that, 2/3 of it. I probably miss most of the time, but I have a good time doing it. And there's something magical about that ebb and flow that's just casual, it's easy, and it does facilitate conversation. It facilitates connection, getting to know people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been your experience in ball games as well.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I was in Chicago for about a week. I think just over a week, and we went to 3 games. And we were there the week. We started the week losing to the Red Sox. Took my mum to her first MLB game as well. She was over. It was a family wedding on my side, ironically. So we were out there for a wedding. We took her and my girlfriend's parents to Wrigley Field, and we saw them lose to the Red Sox. And then we went again, and we saw a Nico Horner grand slam against the Nationals, and then I managed to catch a Cubs Cardinals game, and we beat the Cardinals. And again, the atmosphere was just electric. We were tossing up whether or not we should go on the day of our flight back because we had a red-eye flight back. There was a rain delay, and I kept saying, "Oh, we could definitely make it." And I was dissuaded out of it, quite rightly, because we would have made the flight about an hour to go. But that's just how infectious the energy was.
Yeah.
Did you sit out in the bleachers?
Those rivalry games are special.
No, didn't sit. No, didn't have any. I experienced the bleachers in Fenway. I was just to the. Trying to think. You got the Green Monster on the, let's say, left field. So I was sort of centre right a little bit, about 10 seats over from the Green Monster. That was good vibes. The Red Sox weren't doing too well in 2023, and they were playing the Astros, so there wasn't any balls hit my way, unfortunately. But it was a great atmosphere because I've seen the Fenway Park and Wrigley Field are two oldest ballparks. So to say out of the 30 MLB stadiums or 28 plus whatever's happening to the Rays and the A's, I've done the two oldest ones. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and if they ever go away with those ones, which would be a crime against all of humanity, then you'll have them checked off. I still haven't been to either one, and I go to bed every day and think, oh man, gotta go to Fenway.
Tomorrow's
the day.
Wrigley. Not tomorrow. The day after that. That's the day.
So I'm jealous, and that's really, really cool. It's really cool.
So you mentioned the London series, though, Gary. I'm curious, what is the reception and the perception of the London series in England?
I think there's three ways of looking at it. One, for Americans, it makes for a nice holiday. And I think that's one of the more important ones because a lot of fans do come over just for the atmosphere. A lot of them have never been to London before, and they can sort of take in the atmosphere and then take in the atmosphere of the city before then going to the ball games. That's an important one. And then from a British side, in my opinion, you've got two types of fans. You've got casual fans that are more just going because they've never seen a baseball game before. And I think it's absolutely brilliant for that. They explain it all in very simple terms so someone British can understand the rules. They have sort of between every inning, they've got some kind of entertainment going. If it's a DJ or a dance troupe or a mascot race, there's always something going on. The food's incredible. So it's really good, and it's really good to try and get people into the game. I think that's ultimately one of their aims was to grow the game in countries other than America and Canada. The flip side of that is what if you're sort of a seasoned fan of it, it can get a little bit tiring. So the thing I preferred about the games in America was the innings breaks were very chilled out. You have the 7th inning stretch, you have the celebration when there's a home run. Other than that, everyone's quite chilled. You can go to the toilet, you can go grab a beer, there's no issue. The ones in Britain, they were doing, as I've already mentioned, something every half inning break, and it can just get a little bit too much and a little bit over. They're just overdoing it a little bit. But I get why they do it because the main, they're not catering to 60,000 American baseball fans. They're catering to, let's say, 5,000 diehard fans, and then 55,000 people coming over from America for a holiday, or people that are just casually getting into the game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's really
it's more of a
interesting.
spectacle, you would say. It's a they try to make it an event.
It feels like an exhibition. It feels like a spring training game, even though everyone's putting out their best team and they're trying to win. I also think it totally destroys the teams when they come back on the jet lag. So when the Cubs came over, when they came back, they didn't really do well for a week or so because they're obviously on a different time zone. But that's sort of nitpicking at that point. Overall, it's a great thing that MLB have done. It's definitely growing the game over here. But I don't think it will ever get to a point where it won't be very intense between innings breaks.
Interesting. You're probably right.
It feels like a college game. I used to when we were in school. I actually covered our school team, our college team, and man, there was a ton of stuff between innings. And I wonder if it was to get people to come because not very many people went to those games because they didn't know how good or not the baseball team was. In fact, that year they were very good, but nobody knew because they didn't go. But also, I think a big part of it is just to keep people engaged during between innings, that it's like make the inning break where there's not really anything going on, make that go a whole lot faster for everybody. Like, oh look, now the game's back. Now we get back to it. I wonder if that's what it is to make that break go a lot faster for people who aren't used to the flow of the game. Whereas like for us, it's like, at least for me, I'm like, okay, take a breath, couple minutes,
Yeah.
right?
Brad's blood pressure goes down a few points during the half inning breaks.
You have no idea. It's so true. So let's talk about Team Great Britain though, because Brig and I had a chance to go actually see Team Great Britain open up against the United States in the World Baseball Classic here in Phoenix. Was that 2 years ago now? 2 years ago?
2 years ago. Something like that.
What is there like a sense of pride with Team Great Britain going to the WBC, or is it almost just like, okay, you know?
No, there's definitely pride within the baseball community. Yeah. I think it really put Great Britain on the map. That we've got there is a amateur baseball league over here that has a full tier system, AAA, AA, single A. And I think it was a great sense of pride that Team GB were represented. I think it's opened up avenues for players that aren't Great British, that don't live in Great Britain, to know, okay, oh, my granddad's British, I qualify through him. I'm going to go and try it for the team, and I think it's done wonders for the game over here. With baseball being in the Olympics in 2020, 28. Baseball being a sport, UK, the Olympic Committee or UK Sport, whatever they're called, have said, yeah, we're going to give you £1 million in funding, and that's to help grow the grassroots game, and that's partly due to their success at the World Baseball Classic and the fact that they're going to get the chance to go again in 2025. It's only going to raise the profile, so it's definitely pride. It's not outside of the uniform design, which has been mentioned in every single podcast I've done over the last couple of weeks, saying what a bad design that was. There's great immense
I wasn't going to go there.
I'll take your word for it. I have no doubt you were.
Yeah, we were going to leave it alone.
At it at the end. Yes, definitely pride, and it's also growing the women's game over here as well. We have a great British women's team who are competing in the Euros this year, and hopefully it can set us up on both sides for just growth in the game, and that's ultimately what people want. The whole the question I keep getting asked is, are there any teams you dislike? Sort of like any fans of teams you dislike, and apart from Philadelphia fans in general, the whole. I thought I slipped that in. But no, the whole thing is, as long as you're a fan of the game, that's enough for me. I don't care what team you support. Okay, I might have a little bit of banter with you if you're a Cardinals fan or a Yankees fan.
For sure.
As you would in any game. But I couldn't care if you support the White Sox over here. The main thing is you're interested in the game. And honestly, anyone that isn't a Yankees or a Dodgers fan, I can have more interesting chats with, because I know they're not more of a bandwagon than, I know someone who's a Marlins fan. Like, well, why are you a Marlins fan? He went, oh, I went to their game when I was 10. And now he's been a Miami Marlins fan the rest of his life. So, for me, great pride in everything Great Britain national team have done. They've helped raise the profile of the game. There aren't any, apart from the kit, there are no negatives to take out of the experience.
That's awesome. We felt the same way. The perception, we met with a bunch of Brits that came over and were in Phoenix when Team Great Britain was playing. They had a great time. They were just yucking it up. The whole thing was just community and baseball, and we were there for the experience, and that was it. It didn't, we want our teams to win, but man, we just wanted this infusion of culture and this, I'll say the word love, because that's what it is, but it's this joyous expression, and it brings people together, which is that's what we do.
It's the equivalent of a World Cup as well. I mean, the whole other argument is, it's the World Series, even though it's only played in 2 countries, which I do tend to agree. It's more egregious on the Super Bowl side, saying we're world champions. Well, you beat the only other country that really plays the sport properly. But the World Baseball Classic is such a national show. And, okay, maybe not so much for Great Britain, but to see, like, Korea and Japan and all of the sort of, Costa Rica and Cuba and the Dominican Republic, sort of all them teams compete and have a little bit more of national pride. It's the equivalent of a World Cup, and I think that's why it goes down so well. I'll also give a shout out to Harry Ford, the Seattle Mariners AAA catcher. He's put himself on the map with his performance, and he's helped elevate the game.
100%.
Huge Harry Ford fan, by the way, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a massive Mariners fan. But yeah, no, like that was something that was really cool about the WBC is that we, as Mariners fans, we've been hearing Harry Ford's name forever, and then finally when the WBC came around, it's like we get to see what he can actually do, and it was really cool. And
And he can
I was
ball.
really happy for him that the reception was so great.
Yeah.
Playing for Team Great Britain, because I was actually going to ask about that. Was like, what do you guys think about guys like Harry Ford and who else was there? Brig? There was one other guy off the top of my head. I can't think of his name, but he played for the Dodgers at the time. Because we were actually shocked that he
Yeah.
was there for Team Great Britain. But what is it?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about guys who are, I don't know, second, third generation Americans? It feels like playing for your country.
I think for now it's a good thing. I think it's
Yeah.
helping grow the game. I think until we have proper funding and we can sort of churn out the great British national players, as in people that live in the UK, I think it's great for the sport. It makes us more competitive as well. Ultimately, in sort of 10, 20 years' time, I would like to see players that are sort of playing in the domestic British League be able to compete in the World Baseball Classic for Great Britain. Do I think we'll get to that level in 10, 20 years? No. But would I like to see some people that have maybe come up through the youth systems over in the UK and they've gone over to America to the college system and, enhance their skills better over there to then translate into the GB national team? Absolutely. But for the moment, it's perfectly fine. I mean, I didn't know that Trace Thompson was,
That's who it was.
Yeah, that's who I was looking at. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know he had British heritage. And I watch MLB TV, and in 2023, it was always Trace Thompson's hit 3 home runs in the same game. I'm like, oh, he played for Britain. I didn't know he was British. I thought it was Clay Thompson's brother, which he is as well. And someone like that has enhanced the profile of the game just by being who he is and playing for Great Britain.
I think we joked, Brig. I think when Trace Thompson came to the plate, I think we joked that maybe he vacationed in Britain one time, and that made him eligible. What's this guy doing?
He's not going to get into the American team, is he? So maybe he did.
No.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and good for him,
well,
right? That system exists for those reasons, right? And if it's going to grow the game, and if it's going to develop the fan base, and if it's going to present the best product on the field for entertainment and competitive value, then what do we care?
Exactly. I mean, I was watching the 2025 World Baseball Classic highlights in, I think they're being held in Chinese Taipei. I was watching all of the highlights of that, and Spain absolutely spanked Chinese Taipei in their own dome. I think they had a playoff game, and in the end, Spain got eliminated. But Spain and South Africa, I didn't know that they had baseball teams.
Right.
And they were competing with Nicaragua and Chinese Taipei. And I was watching the highlights, and honestly, it was electric even sort of watching it on YouTube, and it was just a 25-minute clip. Sort of all the games over the 4 days or whatever. So the WBC is a great avenue for fans to get into the game that you might not otherwise.
Yeah, I've become an even bigger fan than I already was. Did I convert you, Brad, or did you convert me? I forget.
No, the WBC converted me because I was worried about watered down competition. In I think it was
You
what
can't
was
let
it? It
me
was
have it, can you? You just can't.
2018. No, I'm sorry, I can't let you have it. No, because I remember it came around. Like I say, I want to say it was 2017, 2018, and I was a little worried about watered down competition. And then I actually watched it. I was like, "This is amazing. This is so fun." It was, I think it was a Joey Batista throw to home that I was like sold. And then like 5 minutes later, it was a Javi Baez no look tag. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like losing my mind. It's like this is way better than watching spring training. As much as I love it, it's way better.
Yeah, it is way better. Are you planning on the 2026 World Baseball Classic? Are you going to come to Miami, or are you going to try to make it to anything?
Well, it's probably not the WBC. It depends what's going on with my work situation. Obviously, work and sort of family commitments and all that.
That's a thing, yeah.
I do want to, I've got plans. I want to tick off all 30 MLB ballparks. Eventually once the Athletics get settled and the Rays have their stadium rebuilt or whatever's going on down there.
Right.
So I think I should be due to go over to the States in 2026. It helps, like my girlfriend is American. All of her family's still over there, so we do have an excuse to go back.
That's awesome.
Once or twice a year. It's just being able to hit those actual stadiums. I mean, I don't know when I'm ever going to be in Kansas. to see the Royals. All these sort of, those are the hardest ones. I've got East Coast is fairly easy to get to. The West Coast, I want to do a whole 3-week, 1 month road trip, and actually in Vancouver and hitting Seattle, LA, San Francisco. So that'll be a good way to pick all of them off. It's these ones in the middle that I'm like, why am I going to go to Ohio? Realistically,
right.
when am I going to Cleveland or, as I said, Kansas? So those are the tough ones. So hoping to go over to maybe Washington in 2026. See if I can catch a couple of minor league games as well. Because I want to tick off as many stadiums as I can. I think it's going to come down to maybe I need to go over to America for sort of 3-6 months on the sabbatical, and then just fly all around and hit all the stadiums up.
Or road trip.
Road trip. Yeah, that'll be a lot cooler. But we'll see how long my Esther lasts, basically.
Yeah, it takes way longer.
Yeah, that I love you said that about Ohio, because Cleveland is constantly rated as the worst city as far as you ask big leaguers what was the worst road city, and it's always Cleveland. Trevor May, who used to pitch for the Mets, I think it was the Mets, Twins, and the A's. He's you can only do the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame so many times. It's that's the only thing to do there. There's nothing else to do in Cleveland. It is the worst road city in Major League Baseball. I love that that was on your list of I'm not going to go to Ohio. No reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's these. Why have I got Detroit? I mean, another one which I'm probably going to go to. I mean, I was a big guy and I went to Toronto in 2023, and there was a Beyonce concert. The Blue Jays were playing away for 10 days, and the time we were there, it was Beyonce. So it's great as Beyonce is. I want to see a Blue Jays game. But
right.
It's just it will take a lot of planning, I think, to hit sort of 3 or 4 ballparks at once. I'm sure it does over there, as opposed to.
I try to plan my vacations around baseball where I'm going. My wife's family used to live in Southern California. We'd be going down. Well, we can go this week, or hear me out. The Angels will be in town this week, and we can go this week, and just maybe hit a baseball game. Oh, look, the Mariners are in town this week. Let's plan this week. That may or may not have happened one summer. We planned our vacation.
I'm not surprised.
They shouldn't be.
So is your girlfriend, did she grow up a baseball fan? Is she an avid fan?
No, she grew up a fan. It was a special thing her and her mum share. They still do. I think they've been to spring training in Arizona back in sort of, again, I don't know for sure, but maybe sort of 15 years ago. They went on just those two, did a bit of hiking, much to Deb's my girlfriend's mum, much to her dismay. They did a bit of hiking in the hills. Shout out to Deb. And then also just watched some Cubs games. So her mum was the one that got her into it. She's been a Cubs fan all her life. She's gone to see them. I think she's seen them at PNC, Wrigley North, or Milwaukee, depending on how you want to call it.
Right. Oh man, he's got all the jabs down. You are the most informed new baseball fan I have ever interacted with, and I say new lightly, but man, you've got it figured out.
I read a lot of posts that go that way.
Well, you're killing
How many obvious shirts do you own? That's my.
None. I have been into the I have been into the store. I went there in 2023 because I was like, oh, what's this store? And Emily was aware of it. I don't have any, unfortunately. But it's if they're listening and they want to do a sponsorship deal with me and give me some free stock,
there you go.
No doubt.
Go for it. This one does kind of look like an obvious shirt, but it's one that Emily's mum got me, and I was like, sort of got handed a surprise package as I was leaving the house the other day. Didn't know what it was. It was just an Amazon delivery driver. Went, Gary? I went, yeah. No, I hadn't ordered anything. And I opened up, I was like, this is a nice jumper. Who's it from? I thought I had a sponsor for about 3 days, and then my girlfriend went with, how is it? If no one's contacted you, how have they got our address? I was like, that's a very good point. So shout out to Deb for this jumper, which is in the style of an obvious shirt. But if they're listening, they wanted a sponsorship deal, hit me up.
We have We have a friend who's a big Cubs fan, and she sends us obvious shirts all the time. She's like, "Oh, this is hilarious." I'm like, "I'm not a Cubs fan. I don't get the joke, but okay."
Right.
I just assumed every Cubs fan had an obvious shirt. But yeah, reach out to Gary, guys. I mean,
I'm not
Seriously.
going to say my address here, but if you want to DM me and
right.
sort out some free postage and packaging.
Gary in
okay,
England, I'm sure I'll reach you.
Yeah.
You say sponsorships because you're starting a podcast. Tell us about your blog and your podcast and all that.
Yes. So the blog, we've been going since August 2024. Self-titled, A Brit Does Baseball. Pretty self-explanatory. I do also play baseball, not at a very good level, but I'm a member of the London Mets Club, who are kind of the top amateur club, or the top club in Britain. I found this out the other day. They're called the London Mets, but it was funded by the Yankees. Don't know why they immediately chose a team name that completely rivaled the Yankees. Just thought it was quite funny. Nice little tidbit.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's just a big joke.
Yeah.
Because they own the Mets traditionally. That's what it is.
I haven't heard that quip before, so I'll make sure to use that in the future.
You should.
Yeah, I do play baseball, very sort of beginners league. I'm not on like a affiliated team. I'm more just playing sort of pickup. We call it Canal League. It's like a pickup league.
Cool.
So yeah, blog was started in August 2024. Basically, I was drinking about a year ago. I was at a wedding. I got a little bit drunk, and I've always been quite creative, and sort of wanted to get sort of a way to get that out. And I sat down with one of my mate's brothers, and I was like, I want to start a blog. At this point, I didn't know what on, and he was like, yeah, do it. Just send it. It's fine. And then a year and a half later, when I got a little bit drunk again, I was like, do you know what? He's got a point. I'm just going to start it. So that was the start of the blog. It's quite a low key affair at the moment. Very much sort of written articles. Probably the best ones we've got is with it. We are interviewing everyone from Great British men's and women's players to coaches in the London Met system, all the way up to banana ball coaches and players, which were some quite interesting interviews. But yeah, it got to a point where writing articles is great, but it takes a lot. I'm not doing this full time. I'm basically doing it as a hobby. I'm not getting paid for any of this. So I thought, make my life a little bit easier. Let's start a podcast. So yeah, starting in April 2025. We've got a Brit Does Baseball Does podcast, which you'll be launching. Still, we're starting to sort of line up some special guests. There'll probably be a couple of co-hosts. The main co-host will actually be someone based on the East Coast of America, and that's what one of the best things about this blog and baseball in general is. To start the followership, I kind of followed a couple of people that looked like they were into baseball, and me and this guy, we just got chatting, and we sort of developed a solid friendship just over baseball. And it's just I'll post something, or he'll see something posted elsewhere, and he'll forward me the link. Both have a laugh about it, and he's written a couple of articles for the blog. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, I just sort of reached out and was like, look, I want to start a podcast. I've never done it before. He's got a little bit of what's the word, expertise in it. I was like, do you fancy being a co-host? And I appreciate he's not British, but who cares?
Right.
So yeah, we're starting in April 2024. 2025. I keep getting the years wrong. Hoping to
Me too.
Grow the game and sort of get subscribers, listeners, whatever people want to call them. You can tell by the name of the podcast that I've put a lot of effort into the marketing, by just adding "does podcast" at the end. And I don't think it's grammatically correct, but who cares?
Who cares?
So, I'm excited where the blog's going to be going. Hopefully, it will attract some major leaguers. Harry Ford, if you're listening, you didn't reply to my message, so if you want to reply to my messaging, come on the podcast. That'd be great.
Right. Come on, Harry. It's about time.
Yeah, Team GB 2026. Let's go.
Hey, I might see Harry this Saturday. I'll see what I can figure out with you.
Yeah, just send him my business card, or just say send you a message about 6 months ago. I'm not trying to dig out Harry Ford here.
Just yell through the chain link, Harry, answer your DMs. Answer your DMs, dude.
Legit,
Come on.
dude, let me show you this picture. Wilson, my son, Gary, is 10 years old, and we go to spring training. We just live down the street from the Mariners spring training facility, and so we go a lot. And I gotta show you. We got Harry Ford last time we went a couple weeks ago, We got him. Hold on, I got to scroll through some pictures here. I'll get there. Yeah, right here, Harry Ford.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a big moment. We tried to track him down last year, but couldn't get him, and so my son was really excited to get him this year. So he's not nearly as big as I thought he was going to be. Kind of a small guy. It's like, you're a couple inches shorter than I am.
Could do this.
Surprising.
I know. I don't consider myself tall.
Gary, what position do you play when you pick up a game?
Oh, God. Nowhere very well. I should caveat by saying that. I probably played most of my time at second base. Sort of second and third are probably my primary positions. I've played everywhere bar catcher, and I'll never play catcher because I don't understand how they do it. Just don't have good knees at the best of times. So
Same.
The knees are brutal, man.
Yeah,
Brad was a catcher.
Oh, God. Oh.
Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah. He sees the world differently. It's built in.
You just get drenched in body sweat while you're playing.
It's true. I remember, I started catching at a young age, and I learned at a young age on those hot summer days when you're catching, get your helmet upside down and make sure you have an extra water bottle, drench it, and then you put it on, and it's a game changer. It's so much better. But like my jersey was always drenched by the end of the season, end of the game. Whether it was water or sweat, I didn't know anymore, but yeah. And filthy too. My mom was always so mad. She's like, "You didn't even slide on the bases. Why are you so dirty?" I'm like, "Because I'm rolling around in the dirt all game. What do you think?" It's a fun position though. If you want to go catch a bullpen or something, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I've warmed up a few pitches, sort of crouching down just with a normal bit. Again, I can do about 5, and then I'm like, "No, my knees have gone." Need to go
use the Yachty Molina method. Get one knee down. It helps.
One leg up.
I'll give that a try.
Out to the side.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's
a good time though.
So, okay, relegation is a big deal in football, right? In the Premier Leagues and all the different leagues. Do you think relegation has any business in Major League Baseball?
Well, yes, but I'd then argue who are you going to promote with the way the teams are set up. So that that you take I don't know who won the AAA World Championship last year, but we'll take, for example, the Norfolk Tides, because I know they're a good AAA team.
Sure.
So you're saying, let's say the White Sox should have been the ones to get relegated, and then you're promoting Norfolk Tides into the AL Central. Well, they're in the same league as the Orioles, so that already makes a competitive disadvantage. I think the Tides would hold their own. I don't think they'd be as bad as the White Sox last year. But as soon as the Orioles and how do you do the Tides versus Orioles matchup? You can't, because the Orioles will just go, we'll send down all of your worst players to AA, and we'll bring in a load of free agents on like a 1-day contract, and we'll play each other and we'll beat you 50-0. So you would, relegation would always. I think relegation makes it more exciting, but I don't know. I don't know how feasible it would be. You would have to completely change the setup in MLB.
Yep, it would need a complete overhaul. You're right.
It would. You think about this though, the Norfolk Tides. The Orioles have a good farm system, and obviously the White Sox do not, or they would have called up more guys last year, I would assume. And I don't know. It is tough though. Thinking there were some dudes on that team in Chicago, and I still cannot wrap my head around the fact that they lost that many games with that many guys on that team that are typically way better than that.
Yeah, I mean, you can only have Garrett Crochet pitch so many games for him, and then at the end, because they wanted to preserve the trade value, they were like, "Well, you're only going to pitch 3 innings." So even the games he was starting and competing in, the bullpen would come in and here you go, have some fastballs right down the middle.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how. I agree with you though. They had some players that should win them games, and I think even with the law of averages, you can't be that unlucky to lose that many games.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's almost like you have to try to be that bad. You got to put effort into it.
I think there was something going on in that clubhouse that we didn't know about, and we won't know about until the book comes out in 10 to 15 years.
Right.
About the record-setting White Sox.
Culture problem or something.
Yeah. It's just a shame for the fan base. being one of the Cubs' arch rival. I mean, they always turned up against the Cubs. I think the 4 games we had last year, 3 ended 7-6 to the Cubs. I think the 4th one was a bit less competitive in our favour. But I remember Mike Tauchman had to walk one off. I remember in one game we raced out to a 5-0 lead, and then Ty Young just had an inning where, every pitcher has it. They took the lead and we had to fight back on that one. So that was good to see, but, they can't be that bad again. It's impossible.
No.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
You would think.
They better not.
Man.
They better not, or we're going to need a new bullet point on the CBA. And it's going to go in this column of, salary floor, but then there's going to need to be other provisions for teams that underperform that dramatically. It just has to be.
But were they doing it for a reason? Like the Athletics, I'd argue, have probably been tanking, for 35 years, but not that.
Since what, Miller Huggins or whatever?
So it's Moneyball. Were they tanking because Fisher wanted to get the move to Las Vegas?
Right.
Like he wasn't invested in the team. The only reason he's given Severino the contract, paid Brent Rooker this year, is because you could tell that was going to come up in the CBA.
Yes.
There's going to be agreements. Yeah.
Pacification. That's all it is.
So it's like, what's going to happen to the White Sox? I know they want a new stadium. I know they want to do a ground share with the Bears. I know that Reinsdorf has cried wolf 3 or 4 times that he'll move the team to Jacksonville, which I don't think is plausible because I've seen the Jacksonville Jaguars in football are talking about coming and playing more games over in London.
Right.
So just don't think there's a sports market in Jacksonville, and you've already got the Tampa and Miami teams down there. So
that's jumbo shrimp turf down there too. Don't move that team in there. Yeah. That's and jumbo shrimp turf.
Those fans do love their jumbo shrimp. They love it.
Oh God, I don't think I've ever had a jumbo shrimp. I'll be sure to give it a go next time I'm down in Florida.
Do it. They're big.
Apparently that's the place.
That's all it is. That's all it is. They're just big. That's a good thought about relegation, though, especially because we talk about that all the time. We've got such a grievance with teams that don't care, owners that won't spend, players that get sent to teams and then just phone it in. They almost don't want to perform, whether it's for personal pride or team pride or legacy, or doesn't matter. They just hang it up almost. They're going through the motions. Like in corporate, we call it quiet quitting. I think we see baseball players do it all the time.
Yeah, I think, it gets to August, September. They've not been traded. They're on a historically... there was a meme, the shortstop that was traded to the White Sox from the Dodgers. I forget his name. Was it Vargas?
Miguel Vargas.
Miguel Vargas. There's that meme of him just sitting in the dugout, like just staring, like wishing that... wishing what am I doing here? And I'd argue that wasn't quite quitting. That was on his face saying, "What have the Dodgers thrown me in here for?" But it happens in all sport. Well, that's the thing. If you had relegation, I guess they'd have something to fight for.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. Especially since he knew he was going to be back next year. Like, what are you going to do? I'm one of the best players around here. You're not going to demote me. So in fact, I will say this: I watched just to get my fix. I was watching, I have to justify watching a White Sox spring training game, right? So I was watching the White Sox the other day, and Miguel Vargas is like bulked up, man. Like he's ready to compete this year. I was impressed. He's a bigger dude this year than he was last year.
He's probably gone. Yeah, if I do really well in the first month and a half, I'll be out of it by July. So.
Exactly right. Yeah, they're going to capitalize on this. They're going to flip me, and they're going to get some prospects. I'm going to go play for a winner. Exactly right.
Yeah. Okay, Gary, my last question, and then we'll wrap it up. Do you have a favorite baseball movie?
Yes, but it's only because I've only ever seen one baseball movie.
Oh,
I'm
fabulous.
aware that there are some more out there, and my girlfriend keeps telling me to. About I know there's one called The Sandlot. And I'm aware The Mighty Ducks is not a baseball film; it's a hockey film. As much as I would love that as a franchise name. So the only one I've seen is Moneyball. And outside of it being quite a good film, it's what I've recommended to people who aren't into baseball. just as like because it's a good film, outside of the ramifications of what that's led to and how the Athletics are now. It just gives you a deep understanding of the game, and I'm happy it doesn't really focus on the on-field stuff. It's all behind the scenes with Billy Bean and whoever whoever Jonah Hill plays.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah,
the guy with the numbers and the glasses. We'll go with that. And it was just an eye opener that there was a historic way of old retired players. I say old retired players going out to the affiliates and saying he looks like he's good, and then when you look at the stats, it's like, well, yeah, he's good against these types of pitches, but once you get to the MLB level, there's so much data available. He can't hit a curveball. Oh, we'll just throw him a curveball. I know that's linking to another film called Trouble with the Curve, I believe.
It is. That was well done.
I've only seen that clip for where it's like the hot shot hitter, and it's the young rookie upstart pitcher, and the guy's like, yeah, just throw him a curveball. He just couldn't hit it. So yeah, Moneyball mainly because that's the only film I've seen. I'm more than happy to kind of have recommendations from yourselves. I'm sure there are more than one.
Listen, if you're a Cubs fan and you want to watch the greatest baseball documentary ever made, you'll watch Rookie of the Year. I'm telling you, it's the greatest baseball documentary.
Movie. Yeah. That's Brig's favorite baseball movie. He refers to it as a documentary, but just so you know, it's not.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's so much fun. It's got the greatest film score maybe in the history of sports cinema, and it's just fun. But I love it.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if Brad was agreeing with you there or not with the laughter.
It's a good one. I love the movie. No, I just crack up every time Brig calls it a documentary. But if you want to watch a baseball movie with actually good baseball, watch Little Big League. Because I actually learned this the other day. This is one of my favorite baseball movies. But I learned this the other day that when they were casting that movie, they had players basically try out. They had actors basically do a baseball tryout, and then they audition for their roles. So they can actually play ball. There are some big leaguers who cameo in it. Ken Griffey Jr. is in it. That's one of my favorite. That's one of the reasons that's one of my favorite movies. But yeah, I recommend it to everybody. It's a fun one. It's really funny.
Yeah, I'll take it. So. I'll take those on board.
It's awesome.
And you can't go wrong with Sandlot either. That's just.
I think Sandlot.
That's fantastic.
Just been on our list for like a year and a half, and
nice.
Then we put something on that's sounds a little bit more exciting. I'm like, oh, let's just go watch that instead.
Yep.
So
that happens here.
Last baseball movie recommendation. If you want something, so the one that I've heard people say is the most accurate as far as minor league baseball goes is Bull Durham.
Okay.
Super funny. Yep. We reference that movie every single day in my house. So
they do. No, seriously, they do. When I'm over there,
every time we go to a game. Every time we go to a game, too, my son, he's never seen the movie, but he references it every time we go to a game. So, it's a really good one. Okay, my last question before. What's up?
I was just going to say, I didn't know that there were this many baseball movies, but...
there's a bunch.
Yeah. Well, I've learned that, and I've also learned why West Coast games start at 2:38. So.
There you go.
So, okay, last question before we get out of here. Who's your World Series pick this year? Who do you have winning?
I'm not going to say the Dodgers because that's boring. Even though it's likely. My World Series pick this year. Other than I want it to be the Cubs. It's not going to be the Cubs. I would love that. Who could feasibly do it? I think this year. I've got a sneaky suspicion with the Mariners. I think they could go on a little run. And I'm not just saying that to appease. I mean, I look at that AL West and, the A's are the A's and the Angels are the Angels. The Astros have lost everyone. So it's out of yourselves and the Rangers. And I just don't think the Rangers have had, they've brought back players. They've lost their bullpen. And I think you've got the best rotation in the league.
Right.
Across baseball, so.
Again, law of averages, that offense can't be that bad again, right?
Yeah, you'd hope
can't
not.
be.
If Rodriguez can hit, then I think you're in with a shout.
Yeah.
You've still got Randy Arozarena coming back. You've got Big Dumper behind the plate. Solano, I think, was actually quite a good signing for you guys.
I agree.
He can hit. So Yeah, I could be boring and go with the Dodgers. We go to the Mariners just because I think your pitching I think you'll win the AL West. I think you have been my pick. The only ones that might challenge you are the Rangers, but again, I worry for their rotation. And
I'm not worried about the Rangers. Yeah.
I mean, the Astros will be the Astros. So that will take you through to the playoffs, and then I think over a 3 or 5 game series, you've got enough pitching in the tank where you should be able to beat them. Even your 4th and 5th starters, Brian. If we're saying Brian Wu is your 4th or 5th starter, he could be top 3 in most other rotations. And on top of that,
and the thing too is the number 6 guy who's in the cooler in AAA is Emerson Hancock, and he's no scrub either.
Yeah, so one of them goes down. Oh, what a shame! We've got someone equally as good, if not better, coming up. I think that's enough to take you to the World Series. I think you're only. I would have said the Orioles, but they've kind of lost a lot of players and not really brought anyone in. I think that takes you to maybe play the Yankees in the ALCS. I just don't see the Yankees having as good a year this year. I think Soto, he's replaceable, but I think they've gone out and they've gone the veteran route with Bellinger and Goldschmidt. And I'm not fully convinced on Goldschmidt, and I think Bellinger will be good in the Bronx, but not as good elsewhere. So that probably that takes you to the World Series against the Dodgers, and at that point I want the Mariners to win, so we'll just stick with that.
Well, my man, that's a pretty good argument, Brig.
That's a really good argument.
By the way,
I don't like it.
Brig's our local Yankees fan, in case you didn't know.
No, I didn't know. That's really well.
That's why I have a hard time hearing, because I'm all the way up in my ivory tower, and you guys are just, I can't.
The Yankees, Mariners.
I was going to say, Brick, what do you think about the loss of Soto and who you brought in to replace him?
Oh, I'm so glad he's gone. I'm so glad. He was a defensive liability, offensive powerhouse. Those two do not even each other out. They just don't. When you come to clutch moments, the defense is just as important. And he was a defensive liability in clutch moments. So for my money, you're going to spend that much, pick up the guys you picked up. Now I need a third base solution. I need DJ LeMahieu out of the way. That's a huge problem for us. And if he's going to continue to be hurt, I don't know what we're going to do. Stanton needs to figure out whatever's going on personally with him and his elbows, which may be the same thing. We don't know yet. Rumors abound. But ultimately, we've got an absolutely incredible pitching staff, start to finish. We've got a lot of pop in the lineup. We've got guys who aren't afraid to hit for average mixed in there. And the bottom of the lineup is not going to be a slouch like it was, 7, 8, 9 last season, especially midway through the season, was just a cliff. And then we were just begging to get back to the leadoff guy. So ultimately what it's going to come down to is who they replace effectively in left field and how they deal with the third base problem. Other than that, I think we're in really good shape, pending injuries.
Always a caveat there.
Yeah, you got to have it.
Always. Yeah. Well, Gary, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you coming on. It's fantastic. It was a great conversation. Loved it.
Thank you so much for having me. I've reached out to a few podcasts, and you guys were straight away, yes, let's do it this date. And it's much appreciated, and it's been great chatting to you both as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing. One thing we're all about is international baseball. We talked to Dave Turgeon last year. He played in, the Netherlands and France as part of his career?
Netherlands and France. And then he played, was it in China for a minute?
I think it was in China for a minute, yeah.
I can't remember which one, but yeah.
Yeah, he was over in Asia for a little bit too, but yeah. So we're all about international baseball, and so when you asked if you could come on, we're like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah. When? Tomorrow?
Yeah. And we will be at the WBC in Miami in 2026 this time next year, and we are pumped. So if you do end up coming out, we want to get a hot dog and sit down and chat.
I'll give you a shout. We can grab a Sprite and
a Sprite.
Sprite and fish and
yes.
Love it.
All right, baseball family, with that, we're going to say thanks to Gary, and we'll be right back.
Baseball family, thank you so much for joining us with that fantastic conversation with Gary. Don't forget to check him out, Brit Does Baseball. He's got his blog, he's got a podcast coming out, and I predict that we will be doing more with him. I thought we had a great time talking to him, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. But while you're on the internet, don't forget to head over to ChinookSeedery.com. Brig's wearing the shirt today. So ChinookSeedery.com. Use code BTPOD at checkout to save yourself 10% off your order. Support your mouth, support your wallet, support the show all at the same time. Another way you can support the show is like, subscribe, rate, and review everywhere that you can on Spotify, Apple, the YouTube machine as well. Follow us on social media because there is more stuff there. And we're ramping up. WBC's in a year, and we're getting ready already because A, we're excited, and B, some of the stuff we're planning on is going to take some time. So you'll see some stuff there. You'll get some updates on social media, so be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok. You can join the Facebook group, Baseball Together VIPs, as well. But baseball family, thank you so much for joining us. We will catch you next week.